Hello world, here for another Truthfire Journal where we're covering various pop culture bubbles. Today I have Nijai Maya with me, and we are going to be going over some authors. Alrighty, let's see what we have. Then let me know if you see this.
Sure.
Coming up. Boom.
Yep.
Alrighty, I'll take odd to take evens.
Sure.
All right, this first one is Nijai Dorothy Allison, author of Bastard Out of Carolina. That sounds really famous. Is that a famous work? Do you know that one?
I don't know her. Actually, I haven't heard of it, so.
Okay, for some reason, maybe it's just a catchy title. Sounds like something I should have heard.
Yeah, it's an interesting title.
I wonder if that's fiction or nonfiction.
Nonfiction hadn't occurred to me, to be honest.
You know what? I have to know. Let me check it out real quick. Where is she? Bastard Out of Carolina. Oh, and apparently it's made into a film too.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It is semi-autobiographical in nature, so you're right.
I just want to see if we have, for some reason, somebody came to mind when we were talking about this woman. Her name is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Janet or Jeanette Walls.
How do you spell it? Can you type it into the chat for me?
I'm not 100% sure about her first name, but the last name is Walls. That might be easier to find in the database anyway.
Okay. What brought her to mind?
She wrote I think she also works as a journalist, so she's probably either Xenai or Vaiji. But she also wrote a really, really interesting autobiography. Her parents were like completely crazy when she was growing up. And it sounds like they pretty much still are. And they were kind of like almost homeless, like driving around the country, eating like ketchup packets for dinner. Like there's all these crazy stories. And it's like, it's something you would totally think is fiction because it's so out there. But it actually happened to her. And yeah, it's just, I don't usually read autobiographies because it's, I don't know, it's kind of it's a bit boring most of the time. But that one stood out in my mind.
I think this might be it here. This person?
I'm just seeing a list of a bunch of people.
This person, is that it? Let me write this. I think this might be it here. Link?
Yep. Let me just check. Yeah, that's her.
Gotcha.
It's called The Glass Castle. So let me just see if it's in the database. I can pull it up. Sorry to like interrupt and derail. It's just,
oh no, actually this is part of it. Cover the Belt. This is great, actually.
Yeah. If she's not in the database, I can send you her after this.
No worries. I got it written down here, so I'll make sure I grab her.
Okay.
Sweet. That sounds like a pretty crazy family.
Yeah. If she's Vaiji, that's interesting because I don't know, when I think of like Vi Alpha, I think of like very stable mentally and emotionally, but I know that's a bit of a stereotype.
Yeah, I'm sure they have their hands full of trauma as well, because always there could be parents from any mode.
Yeah, she's not in the database, so yeah,
she will be
interesting to look into though.
Definitely. Where the screen share we go. There we go. All right, this next one up is yours.
Okay.
Or you to read out anyway.
Xenai Julia Alvarez, author, In the Time of the Butterflies.
I've definitely heard of that. I think that sounds like that was also made into a movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one specifically, but I have heard of her. She's another Latin American author and another cerebral Latin American author, so that's interesting.
This one you put forward.
Yeah.
Vaiji Lundy Bancroft, a psychologist and author. Why does he do that? Inside the minds of angry and controlling men. Are you familiar with his work?
I actually read his book. It was really insightful.
How so?
Um, I think, well, he says a lot of things in the book, but I think the major stereotype or image that a lot of people have is that men who are like violent and beat their wives and do things like that are basically just psychopaths, or they have like some mental illness and that's why they do it,
Right.
or else they do it because of alcohol. And he just like debunks a lot of myths. He's run for many decades now, groups for like abusive men to try to like rehabilitate them. And he says it's pretty much impossible because most of them don't change. But
That's
yeah, but he debunks a lot of like stereotypes or images that people have about angry and abusive men. And he includes some anecdotes from like his work, but I think he like changes the names or something to respect people's confidentiality and stuff.
Gotcha. On that then, if you don't mind, if you know, what were some things he debunked as far as like what are some other reasons besides the alcoholism or just
he basically says, and I've seen this as well, that men who are abusive, what goes on is that most of them are very well adjusted, so they don't really fit the diagnostic criteria of any major illness or anything like that. What's going on with most of them is their attitude towards women is wrong for whatever reason, and he proposes several theories about why that could be or why some boys grow up like that. But he basically says that their attitude towards women is the underlying cause or the issue, and that what's going on is that they have this extraordinary sense of entitlement. Like they think women owe them sex, women owe them cooking whenever they want it, emotional attention whenever they want it. And, no woman in the real world can live up to that. So when their partners don't live up to that, they start retaliating with violence or with other types of abuse.
Gotcha. And that I guess then is also, as my follow-up question was then, that's why it's rehabilitating them is so difficult or hard to do or rare.
Yeah. And a lot of them don't see anything wrong with what they do. Like they always feel justified with whatever they do, because in their minds, she's wrong for, not having dinner ready, not wanting sex when he wants it, for, whatever myriad of reasons. So they don't even see themselves as having a problem. And a lot of the men who participate in his rehabilitation program are only there because a court mandated it or ordered it or whatever.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a really interesting book.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm curious how he stays motivated in that field, seeing as that the success rate is so low.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that's not all he does. He does like public education as well, and he does he leads other groups as well. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds like it's a worldview issue more than anything else. And then question is, how does, that's an ongoing thing for, everyone who's trying to make a better world, including stuff Podlair is doing, is dealing with people who have, ideas that gay people are bad or whatever. And like, they just taught that and they just believe it. It's very difficult to move past like beliefs that were established in childhood.
Yeah, for sure. One more thing that just came to my mind that I thought was really interesting. There's another, idea that a lot of people have is that these men just lose control, and that's why they go into like violent rampages or whatever.
Right.
But he makes this really interesting point that if, for example, they break items to, scare or punish the woman or whatever, they never break their own stuff. So if they really lost control, and also like if the police show up, they can look very calm and like just be really calm when the police show up. So if they were really losing control, A, they would be breaking their own stuff along with other people's, and B, they wouldn't be able to suddenly become so calm when the police show up. So he debunks like that myth as well.
No, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is maybe in defining what it means to be mentally off, because you can have people with various mental illnesses that are off like in a lot of general areas, but then certain areas they can maintain a facade of being normal at work.
I think this is a whole other thing. I actually think that our understanding of mental illness is wrong to begin with, because we look for problems with an individual person. Like we look for symptoms. And sometimes like let's say if you're like really traumatized or something, then having, those symptoms is actually normal. Like it doesn't make you crazy. Whereas like other people, like these abusive men, they can function very well in a sick society, unfortunately. And so from like the current psychological view, they're quote unquote healthy, but they're really in like a holistic sense, they're not, because if they were, they wouldn't be doing this. So
Definitely. And then the classic saying that being a definition of being insane is trying to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
right.
If you think about it, these men who you're talking about, they actually are fitting that, in that women are not built and designed the way they think they are, and yet
Right.
they keep pushing to get a result based on that given. And that given is clearly false, but they are just not registering it.
Right.
Boo. All right, go.
Okay. Zenai Pat Baker. I don't really know anything about her. Or Barker, sorry, not Baker. Pat Barker.
See real quick here. Let me find out real quick. I'm guessing nonfiction.
Probably.
I'm wrong.
Oh, fiction.
She's won awards for her fiction with
Oh,
themes
interesting.
memory, trauma, survival, and recovery. That seems to be something I noticed is, comes up more than once with some of these Zenai authors, these Zenai female authors. They come to very emotionally charged topics, trauma as a theme.
I wonder if it's because, this is another stereotype, so I could be totally off, but I get the impression that like Zenai are like, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them can be like very tough and can get, can move beyond things in like a very powerful way that's more difficult for other mojos.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's why they write, these books about like traumatic topics.
Yeah, and how to cope with it.
Sort of get over it. Well, not. I hate the expression "get over it," but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They be able to move past it, and they want to share, whatever, whether it's through fiction or through nonfiction.
It definitely does seem like the females do more of this than the males.
Yeah.
Although there are some exceptions there. Naiji Roberto Bolano, Chilean novelist, short story author, and poet. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not even sure if I submitted him or not, or if he was somebody else. But
Gotcha. I kind of guessed he might be just because it mentions his ethnicity. But.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Naiji Rhonda Byrne, author, New Thought. She looks in the first photo a little bit like J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author.
Yeah, I can see that. What we got here? Nijai Laura Esquivel, Mexican author, like water for chocolate.
Interesting. Nobel Prize in Literature.
Again?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I submitted her, but I actually haven't read anything by her. So,
unfortunately, that does sound familiar. I'm pretty sure that was made into a movie.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
I think it's like a popular indie movie.
Mm-hmm. Naizi Lone Frank, author, My Beautiful Genome.
Okay, that definitely sounds like nonfiction. But a cool Naizi author, we don't see a lot of those.
Yeah, that is pretty rare. When I was doing, I told you a few weeks ago that thing where I was trying to collect information about authors.
Right.
I only found a few Naizi, and I'm pretty sure that all of them were women.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think it was all nonfiction too. So. Oh, interesting.
Sue Monk Kidd, author of The Secret Life of Bees.
Yeah, that's really interesting. She wrote, the only thing I've read by her is her memoir about, she goes on like the spiritual path of exploration. So I guess like when you hear memoir, you think that like that sounds something a Vaiji would write, but she's written a lot of like fiction novels as well. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's more crossover than I was expecting, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nijai Gabriel Garcia Marquez, a Colombian author.
Interesting. I tried reading a book of his. I couldn't get through it, not because it was badly written or anything, but because, and I'm not exaggerating, there were a ton of characters and they all had the same name, the same two names. They were all either Pedro or Juan. And like the weird thing that he would do is like he would have a grandpa, a father, and a son, and all three of them would be named Juan. And he would just say like Juan said this or Juan did that, and you're not sure which one he's talking about. It was really weird. But he's famous for he writes in a genre called magical realism, which is like halfway between regular fiction and fantasy. It's like it's fiction that takes place in a normal setting, like not like a fantasy medieval setting.
Right.
But there's a little bit of like surrealism or something extraordinary.
Interesting. And the one that you try to get through, what was some of the magical element?
I only got through the beginning of it, so I didn't get that far. So I didn't. Unfortunately, I can't share. But it's interesting because the only other like really famous big magical realist author that I can think of off the top of my head is the Japanese author Haruki Murakami, and he's also Nijai. So it seems like a very Nijai type of thing.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a rather specific kind of genre. Now, I don't know, maybe it's because he's a Nijai or something. For some reason, just looking at him, he also kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the poets we've seen.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And Nijai also tend to be very strong in that genre as well.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay, Vaiji Raj Patel, nonfiction author, especially known for his writing about world hunger. This is one you also put forward, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read his yet. I have one of his book about world hunger. And I think from what I remember, he analyzes like how the system is set up so that certain people go without food. Like there's this common misconception that there's not enough food or whatever, but there's actually enough food to feed like something like 12 billion people.
Yeah.
It's the political and economic structures are set up in a really stupid way.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of that, but I had heard that before, that there's actually more than enough food to go around. It's just the way things are set up, keep things to where certain people are hungry, which really sucks. What was it the author you're reading now?
Rohinton Mystery. I'm actually reading more than one book at a time. I usually do that, but the Vaiji one that I'm reading right now is Rohinton Mystery.
And the book you're reading is?
It's called A Fine Balance.
What about some of the other ones you're reading? You're reading a couple of them?
Yeah, I'm reading two. So the other one I'm reading is called The Gallery of Lost Species. It's by Nina Berkut. I only found a little bit of media for her, and I'll send her, like this week, I'll send you some more authors, and she'll be one of them.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
The Gallery of...
The Gallery of Lost Species. I suspect she's Nijai, though, because she's written a lot of poetry. And this book that I'm reading is only her first novel, so.
Gotcha.
Vaiji Mel Robbins, CNN contributor and self-help author.
I don't know what she self-helps about, or just general self-help?
It's general self-help. I haven't read her book, but I watched her TED Talk, and I'm actually slightly surprised she's Vaiji. I was leaning more towards Zenai with her.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because her style of self-help is very like, just do it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like kind of Z.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But both the Jazz Hunters can actually be a little hard master as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like the like a conductor.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because his pictures, she looks pretty, well, not on the right, I guess, so much, but on the left, she looks pretty upbeat, you know, like.
Yeah. And she's also very, in her TED Talk, she's like very quick and like very, you know, upbeat and not really what you would associate with a Vi Alpha, so.
Interesting. Yeah, we had Vaiji recently in one of the quizzes that was really surprising that way. I think it was some guy who was doing creative director of a design firm, You know, we had to like rethink how we think of IG.
Right.
All right. Zenai Nancy Thayer, author of Three Women at the Water's Edge.
That sounds like fiction.
But it sounds like it might be that kind of fiction too. Also, the Zenai seem to do, which is fiction, but like very realistically done as far as the character interaction.
Hmm. Interesting. Nijai Christine Rush, author.
Seems like a happy soul.
Hmm. I don't know much about her.
Nige Brandon Sanderson, fantasy author.
Do you know what he's written?
No, look and find real quick.
Okay.
Brandon. American fantasy and science fiction. He is best known for his Mistborn series. Oh, interesting. I don't know how that works, but he's also known for his work in finishing Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series.
Oh, interesting. Is Robert Jordan, I think he's Naiji as well, right?
So, yeah. He was actually a little trickier to read for me, Brandon, because I had to find the younger picture here on the right, and this one on the left is a bit more young because he gained a significant amount of weight over the years, been a little more challenging to read him.
Okay.
If you ever happen to look him up, he might look different than some pictures you'll see.
Really? Nijai Jean-Paul Sartre, author known for his work on existentialism.
Yep. Nijai.
I forgot to mention I'm actually reading 3 books, so I lied.
What's that?
I'm actually, the 3rd book I'm reading is by him, and it's called The Nausea, and it's about a man, and you kind of get the impression it's a bit slightly autobiographical. It's about a man who feels he develops this sense of like complete repulsion with everything, and it sounds so much like Nai dissatisfaction that I was totally thinking he must be Naiji. So that's like really interesting that
it is. But one thing I've been finding about some about Nijai is going along with the fact that they misread as subjective more than any other objective mojo is I'd say nausea, but I would say aversion to a lot of what they see in the environment makes them often feel that they're subjective, and that's also not just subjective, particularly kind of misanthropic.
Yeah, I know how that works.
Bijai Kathleen Shine, author of She Is Me. Do you know her at all?
No. Nijai Diane Setterfield.
Sensitive soul.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pose I've seen them do, the Nijai, particularly the females, but also the males even sometimes, is this sort of like leaning up against a wall for a photo. And every now and then you'll see the IG ladies will also do it, but it looks different when they do it.
Right. Interesting.
Looks more like a hunter peeking around a tree. But here it looks more like, I don't know, almost like it's comforting for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Nijai Carol Shields, Pulitzer for fiction.
Her name definitely rings a bell.
Canadian novelist and short story writer. She's best known for the novel The Stone Diaries.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that, but I'll write in there.
Zenai Leslie Mormon Silko, author, Almanac of the Dead.
Is she Silko. She's not South American, is she?
I don't think so.
Something about her look looks a little interesting. She's a Laguna Pueblo writer.
Okay.
Not sure what that exactly is, but
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either.
Sinai Paulina Simons, author of Tully.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of Zenai.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot more in here than I thought there would be.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, going with that, I've been doing some purification. I use that to go back and check on some earlier ones.
Vaji Mona Simpson, author Anywhere But Here. Sounds like nonfiction. Yeah.
What was that you said?
Oh, I just said it vaguely sounds like nonfiction. I haven't heard of it, yeah.
Curious, of the three that you're reading right now, which ones are grabbing you the most, or do you have certain moods that you read certain ones in, or?
That's an interesting question. They all grab me in different ways. The one that I'm reading by the Vaji author, I'm not sick of it, but it's just the copy of the book that I have is like, it's very small and it's slightly uncomfortable to hold because it's like 850 pages, but it's small. So it's small and really thick, and it's just holding it is really uncomfortable. So every like 10 pages, I have to take a break. And, you know, that's
how the writing style itself.
The writing style itself is pretty choppy. Like if I was judging it just based on the writing style, I'd judge it as like a bad book. But the storytelling is actually really good.
That's right. Okay, I think that's fair. You mentioned that.
Yeah, the story, like his knee is probably pretty good. I think that's probably true for Vaji who write fiction in general.
What is the general theme of that story?
It's about 4 different people. Well, it's about more than 4 people, but there's 4 major characters. And it's in 1975 India, and there's all these political things going on, and it's about their lives and what happens to them and how, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Is it politics? Does he make it understandable, or as a backdrop, is it interesting?
He so far I'm only like 200 pages in. He's only mentioned it a couple of times, and the major thing he says is that there's just a lot of unrest and there's protests. Okay. So that's not too hard to understand.
I'm curious, does the caste system come up at all in there?
Yeah, the section that I'm reading right now, the people are the Untouchables. I'm assuming you're familiar with that. So it's about their story as well, and like their struggles and how they get by. So
yeah, that's always.
There's also stuff about like Hindus and Muslims fighting with each other and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Hinduism has some good elements into it that actually are pretty enlightened compared to some other models, but that caste system has got to go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then the one that I'm reading by the Suspected Nijai, it's a much lighter novel. It's not as long. It's about 2 sisters, and one of them is they grow up in like this poor family because the dad like wants to be an artist and works as a janitor by day, and the mother doesn't work at all. So the mother, to try to make some money, makes the older sister go into a bunch of beauty pageants, and eventually the older sister rebels. And it's all about the younger sister trying to like, at first she's jealous of the older sister, then she has to take care of her because the older sister turns to drugs and other things. So it doesn't sound like a light novel, but it is.
No, it does. I was like, okay. How does it make it that light? Is it got a sort of humorous take on things, or whimsicalness, or what?
Yeah, it's just she doesn't dwell on any one thing for too long. Like she'll mention that the younger sister finds like bags of coke, like the drug, not the This younger sister will find bags of coke under the older sister's bed, but it's not dwelled on for too long. Like it moves along pretty quickly. And it's all told from the younger sister's point of view, like first person. So you don't get the thoughts, unless she says something, you don't get the inner thoughts of the older sister who's, going crazy and everything.
Gotcha. Sounds a little bit like my so-called life, in different culture. which kind of did that.
And then
You're saying?
sorry, what were we saying?
Oh, that show. I don't know if you ever saw it, My So-Called Life.
No, I haven't seen it.
It was a popular show back in the day, and it had like this angsty teenage girl, and she goes through all these like problems. If you like list out all the problems of her family and people around her, it sounds pretty bad, but it was done this kind of whimsical, commentary style, and you pretty much just kind of see it all through her eyes, and that
Yeah.
sort of funny.
Interesting. Yeah, and then the third one I'm reading is, we just saw him, Nijai Sartre, and I'm reading it in French, so it's a little bit slow.
That's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm pretty good at French, but I don't read in it as much as I read in English, obviously.
Right.
So it's just a little bit slower. So, yeah.
He's known as a philosopher, correct?
Yeah, he's mostly known for his philosophical work.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason I was thinking Naiji, because when I think philosophy, I think more like Nai and Zai and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some like Jacques Derrida.
Right. What's he? Is he Nijai?
Nijai, yep.
Okay.
Alrighty. Two more here. Naiji Jane Smiley, Pulitzers for Fiction.
He's got a nice last name.
She does indeed. I had a dog once named Smiley.
Oh.
He's cool. And last one to you.
Naiji Zadie Smith, author. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I just discovered her recently because I saw a short story that she wrote in The New Yorker. But she also has several novels published. And I tried to read one of them that wasn't her main, not like her biggest or best known novel. So like one of her lesser known ones, and I didn't like it. But I think it might have just been like a problem specific to that novel and not to her, because she seems very talented based on the short story that I read and based on like other things that people have said. So
what was it you didn't like about the one you read of her?
The novel is about these people. She's from the UK, and the novel takes place mostly in the US, and it's about people who are Americans. And I don't know if like she was doing this because of the image that she has of the United States or like US English, or if she was doing it because she was like subconsciously try to copy some kind of Nijai author, but she was trying to make like every line really witty, and then she would suddenly switch to something else without like explaining fully what they're talking about. And it was just like, it was really frankly painful to read. And it's a shame because the short story that I read was like, it literally blew my mind. So she's innately very, very talented. And I think she was just trying to do something or experiment with that novel in a way that just didn't work out.
Gotcha. Now, yeah, not all experiments work out. What is the work she's more well known for?
I think it's called White Teeth. I think that's her most famous novel.
Gotcha. All righty. Well, that are the samples that I had for today. So,
okay. Cool.
Good job. 24 new authors out there. So if you can send some more my way, that would be great, because we definitely need more. And whatever you send is awesome. We need lots of authors, but I'm also keenly interested as well in female authors because the Naiji, Vaiji, and Nijai males, which are some of the most populous in writing, we do have over 1,000 of them in the database, but more is always good. But the Nijai lady, Vaiji lady, Zenai lady, we still need quite a few of those. So,
right.
Wahaha. But anything sent will be awesome.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'll look for stuff.
Any thoughts before we sign off for today?
I don't think so. Do you have anything?
Nope. I think that pretty much covers it. But that was fun.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'll see you again on Friday.
Yep.
Cool. Look forward to it.
Yeah. See ya.